Picture this. You find yourself on the wrong side of the law and you get thrown into jail. You have no support, no guidance, no program, or other training opportunities to help get yourself back on the right path. You feel stuck and hopeless. Now imagine you're 13 or 14 years old and in the same situation. It's pretty scary, huh? Attorney Brian Stevenson shared in his video, "We Need to Talk About an Injustice," that many of his clients are juveniles. Stevenson represents clients that are 13 and 14 years old serving time with hardened criminals. Unfortunately, Stevenson is one of many attorneys with consistent customer demographics. With approximately 60,000 American youth in juvenile prisons and more than 1,200 under the age of 18 incarcerated in adult facilities, consistent rehabilitation programs are needed to help reform the misguided adolescents and reduce the recidivism rates. The United States justice system needs to implement a rehabilitation program for juvenile criminals. Ismail Naziro was a troubled, incarcerated youth who reformed himself and now shares his story in a video called "What I Learned as a Kid in Jail." Nazir provides powerful information about the lack of rehabilitation programs for the youth. Nazir confirms there's not really much for these young people to do to actually enhance their talent and actually rehabilitate themselves. Nazir spent 400 days in jail at Rikers Island, New York. Like other adolescent inmates, Ismail was not being rehabilitated. Without a proper transition plan, inmates like Naziro could be placed back into society and be reoffenders. We rely on parents and teachers to educate the youth on unlawful actions and how that can turn into imprisonment. Even with strong support from family and teachers, some kids still make bad mistakes and end up imprisoned. Naziro's perspective on rehabilitation services for the incarcerated reiterated when I had an interview with Stephen Bachman, a high school friend and reformed criminal. Bachman was released 6 months ago from Jessup Correctional Institution after serving a 5-year sentence for attempted murder. Bachman confirmed that there are minimum rehabilitation service offered for the youth. A program offered as a form of rehab at Jessup is Alcoholics Anonymous. While Bachman was incarcerated, most inmates did not need the service of AA. Instead, they talked about drug addiction, which was prevalent. This benefit did not last long, though, because the individual that represented AA was caught bringing drugs into the prison and selling it to the inmates. According to Bachman, the AA meetings continued, but they were run by inmates without any professional guidance. In her article, "Effective Components of Intervention in Juvenile Justice Facilities, How to Take Care of Delinquent Youths," Cecile Math shares interesting data. While juveniles are not involved in rehabilitative services, a reoffending rate of up to 80% is realized, versus a 9% recidivism rate for those offenders included in rehab. There's much to be learned from other countries that taught lower recidivism rates. Japan has created a juvenile justice system with strong rehabilitative programs that successfully get their troubled youths reformed and integrated successfully back into society. Japan's Shimi Hashai is a comprehensive public-private corporation rehabilitative center built on 3 pillars: therapeutic community, restorative justice, and cognitive behavioral therapy. Focusing much of their efforts on preventing recidivism of the prisoners, Shimi Hashai concentrates on a phased treatment approach from incarceration through release. At Shimi Hashai, inmates have mandated programs to assist them with recovery, including occupational training, job assistance, behavioral therapy, and community reintroduction. According to Paul Lenton, writer for the Justice Policy Journal, The low recidivism rate can be contributed to the prisoner's very structured program that comes with many rules, strong surveillance, and strict discipline. The United States can begin to transform the lagging juvenile justice system by replicating the rehabilitation programs offered at Shimi-Hashai. With the right professional resources and strong advocates, the program can be implemented quickly. I imagine a strategy where each inmate is assigned a transition coach. The coach is assigned while the juvenile is incarcerated and helps to develop and maintain a reform plan through the first year after being released. This coach is trained and skilled in determining the best learning and rehab opportunities for the individual. One learning opportunity involves the support of a local college. I envision a program where professors and classmates work with inmates as part of their curriculum. Under the guidance of the professor, students teach skills that they are learning in school. In return, the students learn firsthand the consequences of making a bad decision, which could deter future delinquency. It's a win-win for both parties. In order for a program like this to work, strict guidelines and a structured plan needs to be established. The safety of the professors and classmates must be paramount. If professors or students fear the inmates, the success of the program could be impacted. Tracking the overall trends of the inmates is critical and will determine the success of the program. Once an inmate is released and back in school or gainfully employed, without reoccurrence, victory can be achieved. After 1 year of being closely monitored by the transition coach without setbacks, the youth can officially graduate and be considered reformed. The United States justice system needs to implement a rehabilitation program for juvenile criminals. There is no need for consistent rehabilitative programs, so impressionable juvenile criminals like Naziro and Bachman are given the support, positive reinforcement, and guidance to rehab and ultimately acclimate themselves back into society successfully. With the proper advocates in place, youth reform will be on the rise. How can you help? Please reach out to your state representatives and senators and fight for rehabilitation reform for our young criminals. Be the advocate for these children who need our help. Thank you.